All right, man, we got something to talk about before game one. The Knicks fired Tibbs. You upset the Celtics, you make the conference finals, and now you're gone. I did not think they were going to do this. So, looking at the criticisms of Tibbs, of course, there's stubbornness with the lineups. There's the fact that the Knicks offense, while for the entire regular season, still finished with a good offensive rating, like towards the top of the league. We saw in round one against the Pistons, it was a process and then some for them to figure it out offensively. A lot of it still being Jalen Brunson make some tough shots. Of course, the Pistons went with Tobias on Cat and Duren on Josh Hart for a decent amount of that series, although as the series went on, we saw more of Duren on Cat. But that lowered Cat's three-point attempts, and it made him have to just body through Tobias Harris so much for baskets, and you would hope that there would be other solutions, even if, they got through the series. Cat was able to get a few more threes up in the middle of that series, but that was about it. In the Celtics series, while, they pulled off the crazy comebacks and they put the Celtics offense in the mud, offensively for them, it was once again a process, and then, eventually they lose in Pacers, disastrous game one of the worst moments in Knicks history. The Brunson-Cat two-man game just has not developed enough. I mean, you'll see a playoff game where they both finish with 20-plus points, and a lot of it was, Cat taking on his guy in a one-on-one, driving on Miles Turner, Pascal Siakam, whatever, and then Brunson, it's like figure it out versus Asar Thompson all over you, or Nembhard or Nesmith all over you, more so Nesmith. And sure, if you go through all the Knicks offensive possessions, you're going to see some Brunson-Cat two-man game. But it just feels like there's a lot more potential there. When Mitchell Robinson came in the game, that's when it felt like there was a little more of just simple Brunson pick and roll. But again, you have that where, again, like their offensive rating for the season was still really good because of the spacing, the talent, the whole thing. So you have that, you combine it with, again, the depth rotation stuff for Tibbs. And then defensively, this team is not good enough, except for when they shocked my Celtics. I mean, I know Tatum eventually had that monster game before the worst thing possible happened. But before that, it was a lot of idling at the three-point line. Jaylen Brown was just totally out of whack with the timing of the Knicks' help defense. Like OG just coming out of nowhere to steal it from him. But most of the time, Cat as your center has defensive issues, which is then why we saw some Mitch and Cat lineups. And that story just came out recently about the team's confidence in Cat defensively and all that was not ideal, we'll just say that. I mean, OG can't do everything on defense. And so, okay, those are the reasons that I'm going to assume they do this. I mean, the starting five had a negative net rating in the playoffs. It does also feel like sometimes they rely on Brunson too much. It also feels like while you will definitely see the plays of like deliberate sets for McHale or OG where they're cutting off of Cat or one of them is screening for Brunson or there's a little off-ball set, it also felt like there were times when they just sort of forgot that those two can do more than just take open catch-and-shoot threes. Yes, McHale also needs to take more layups. And even with all this said, Tibbs is better than a lot of coaching candidates out there. I mean, Michael Malone has already been the most popular guy to imagine for these guys, and that was people just speculating, could they fire Tibbs, right? And looking at Michael Malone, if it ends up being him, who knows? So you could make the argument that the Murray-Jokic two-man game was going to develop how it has, regardless of who the coach was, but I think you still have to give Michael Malone credit there. Also, the defense they had around Jokic as they won the title. Sure, they had more good defenders than they do now, but Jokic higher up on screens, help on the backside. They figured out a defense to deal with the fact that Jokic was just not that good of a rim protector, right? And they would sometimes still sprinkle in Jokic dropping back on screens, whatever. And perhaps the Knicks front office could look at that and say, okay, their two-man game developed to a level that ours didn't. Also, Jokic is better than our two guys, but whatever. And Michael Malone found a way to have a good defense around a not good rim protector, which is what we have to figure out with Cat, which is why we have seen them lean more into the Mitch-Cat lineup. Could be something they do more or less. I think there's a minutes limitation to Mitch, which is how he plays, stamina, injuries, whatever. But okay. And then as far as roster stuff, I mean, I've already said, getting a wing who could be more of a shooter, defender than Josh Hart. Still like Josh Hart a lot. But this also plays into another frustration that Knicks fans had with Tibbs. Like all season it was, can we see Deuce with the starters over Josh Hart? It just basically never happened. And I'm sure Tibbs' pushback to that would be, well, we need a guard off the bench when Brunson's not in there. To which Knicks fans would say, bro, Tyler Kolek is right there. Instead of campaign, and then DeLon Wright eventually showed up. Or it would be, well, we might be a little too small with Deuce and Brunson in the game. But the idea there would be on-ball defender, shooter, you get it. I mean, that lineup played 41 minutes over the season. And to be clear, it's not a certainty it would have been successful if we saw it more. Now, the lasting impression we have of Michael Malone, to me, attempting to read between the lines, maybe I'm doing too much here, is it didn't feel like the Nuggets players were that beat up about him being gone. And their defense did get better. But again, he built the defensive infrastructure that won them a title. That matters. And I'd also like to think over the many years that he was there, that there were a lot of good vibes. Maybe not as much at the very end. So we'll see what they do. Thinking about other candidates, I mean, there is one other coach who has won a title, who also has won a crap ton of regular season games, that just recently got fired. And that would be Budenholzer. And I guarantee you now, if Budenholzer was in the rumors for the Knicks, or if they did it, everybody would roast the hell out of the move, and they would just say, postseason adjustments, drop coverage, etc. But the guy's way more successful than a lot of candidates you might want to imagine, besides Michael Malone, pretty much. The point being is, as you do this NBA coaching carousel thing, there's going to be something that's going to freak you out about any coach that a team hires. So we'll see what happens.